The owner of this car, a guy by the name of Jerry O'Connell, he owned this company, Sugar Ripe. Sometimes they nicknamed it the Sugar Ripe Prune Special, you know. There was a prune drink of some sort. So they asked me they said if Tom Sneaver, who was driving their other car, that was a new ground effect car, they said if Tom gets into the race, we'll put you into the backup car. And so that's what happened. And in those days, qualifying was over 2 weekends at Le Mans. So Tom got qualified the first weekend. So they put me in this car on the second weekend just for practice. And my practice time, if I'd done it for qualifying the previous week, would have put me on the second row of the grid. The unfortunate thing for me was Tom crashed his qualified car, and then at that point he commandeered this car. And it used to be, if you'd qualified, you could swap cars, you could drive another car, but you had to start from the back of the grid. That's what happened with Tom. He'd qualified his ground effect car, crashed it, and then took my car, the car that I would have driven in the race. Starting from last, he finished second in the race.
To the man who remarkably finished second, coming from last place on the start from 33rd position, Tom Sneaver.
We moved to the States in '97, and while there was a dealer in St. Louis who bought and sold old racing cars, racing engines and so on, and I always used to go down there for a sticky beak. And I saw this car. It didn't look like this. The young driver who'd bought the car, always had a sponsor that bought it, decided to turn this into a ground effect car, chopped all of these side pods off, and he made up out of marine ply what was supposed to be a ground effect type tunnel. And anyway, first time out, he wrote the car off, he crashed it again. So that car was sitting there in this sort of wrecked state. And because I'd known the history of it and actually driven it, I bought the car with the idea not to restore it to go racing, but just as a show car. I had that done back in Indianapolis. After 3 or 4 years of just having it sort of most of the time stored in Indy, we were living back in Adelaide by then. After a couple of years, it still wasn't finished, and thought bring it to Adelaide and I'll find somebody here. And of course, Tim introduced me to Mark, and it just went from there. That'll be a big day, yeah, for sure. We're all excited about that, to hear it running, put it on the track, and to actually drive it again. It was the best Indy car I'd ever driven in it. I would just see what it's like now, but it looks better than it did then.